Let's get this one someplace else. Put it here or something, I don't know. Hi, let's do leg muscle workout. Let's do leg muscle workout. Okay. Let's get this vacuum cleaner out of the way. Get our vacuum cleaner. Hi. You know what? I didn't realize how much money I actually had. I thought I was only living on $3,000 a month. But I didn't add up the cost of living in this house and utilities. And also, I have a wife and kids, and they have other money that she makes and that her family helps her with. So as a family, we make pretty good money, even though we've been kind of low on money. And we're kind of like one of those like famous people who can barely afford to move to California for their work because they do that kind of work. So that's about how much kind of money we have. Where's something to wipe my nose? Hi. Hey everybody. I'm gonna do some leg workout. I'm trying to wipe my nose. Hi. I'm sorry. Hey. Praise Jesus. I gotta blow my nose. You know, some kind of thing that makes me feel like, hey, I found one. Yo. Let's do this. Hey. I had to really blow my nose right there. Hi. You know, so you can actually do things that you're supposed to. Hi, praise Jesus. Once you get to blow your nose or wipe the little tiny eye boogers with the clean part of the napkin from your eyes or something like that, or blow your nose or something, then you can, that's for the physical body to feel your best, but your soul, the Holy Spirit, is way more important than that. Even if some people have a deficiency with their body. But for some reason, God gave me super strength of the body. I don't know why. And I used to not have it as strong as I do now when I was younger. But I was an athlete too. And let's do some leg muscle. Okay. If you get 2 dumbbells with the rubber on them, so it's kind of like, feels like it's good on the joints and they're not too heavy. But some people work out in different ways, and you keep them in a place where you have plenty of space. Then you can work out with them when it's convenient. Leg muscle, oh, that feels really good. It's the right timing for me to do this. All right. You have to do it sometimes when it's not the most ideal timing. I've been working out since I was a teenager, and before that at sports. I played soccer, basketball, football as a young child, and then as a teenager I didn't really do any of those. I skateboarded. And that helped me get low body fat, because I'd go out there all day with my friends skateboarding when I was a teenager. We'd skate. We couldn't get to water, stuff like that. And that was not that great as a kid, but it was okay because we were so healthy. And then we get home and drink a bunch of water after and this can make your arm shorter. This is like a mind over matter thing that strength training can do, that you think about various parts of your body that you want to get the benefit from, including your own face. And it's from God, because in the Bible, God says physical training is good. But godliness helps you way more than that. being godly helps you in this life with your physical body and in the next life to come. So there are some people who don't do physical training, and they might live to be older than people who do physical training because they're so godly that they might live to be 103 or something, 103 or something. So that was pretty good. I hadn't gotten a chance to do that much leg muscle in a few weeks, but I did a little less than that, like every day or every few days for legs only. And then I only worked out 30 something years, or since I was a child, for 40 years. I used to play on soccer teams. I've worked out for 40 years. It's a miracle, and physical training is good. Physical training is good. So that's something really good about physical training. They made me itch myself right now. Hi, praise God. Praise God. Praise Jesus. Hey, this is pretty good. Well, hi. So God gave me a good physical body. I don't know why, but God did that for me. And he made me, I don't know if I should tell you, but like Jesus, I've endured a lot of attacks from others that were mostly mental attacks with all the meanness in their heart sometimes. And I think everybody's done that. And they get angry and they say, I hope they get angry and they say things, and I did it too. I did that about others. So that all came back to me. That was the worst that I'd ever done, was meanness of my heart towards others. So all of that came back to me. And I had an ability to endure through maybe 3 months of not getting to feel that way, how I felt in this video. Not getting to feel like how I feel right now. But I think that's not true. I think here and there I got to feel really good like this. Sometimes it was only for 20 minutes, like I feel now. And then I might feel a different way. Hi, this is pretty good. So for some reason, God empowered me on earth to have a physical existence with a life, my life on earth. Hi, praise Jesus. And he empowered you to have a physical body too. And by being godly, meaning things of the spirit that are not always the physical body, they're within, and maybe an unhealthy body, but you may be the most godly one. And I've been bedridden before. As a young man, I was bedridden for 9 months. For 9 months, I edited in a bed. And I made a film called Rebel Fish. And it was, must have been 14 hours a day, 14 hours a day of work. And I had self-control, and I didn't think about sex at all for 3 months of the 9 months. And I thought that was a way to get better from something that I thought my body was hurt, and it did feel pain. I felt a pain. And then after that, I went to physical therapy and talked to many different doctors and stuff. And then I found that I had to start working out and swimming and stuff, even though I had pain. And I had to use the muscle. And one of my legs had atrophied back then. And then this is one of the things I've gone through. I've gone through about 100 of them. And so that was one thing that happened to my physical body, but there have been other things that were worse, like how my wife and kids were taken away from me and stuff. And I don't know, but I have a healthy body, and God wouldn't let me die. Hi, I want to see what that person said, even though it was so difficult to go on. I hoped to die to be at peace from how difficult it was trapped in this body, and God gave me a healthy body instead, and I couldn't die. hey, how's this? That was me, my selfish way. I keep trying to see what the person said that I'm supposed to do, and instead they want me talking about me because they don't want to hear about the other kind human being who's watching the video who may come back to them later. And, you're supposed to be godly and good, Dad. It's not all about you and family and the closest ones. It's about others too. Who are you kind to out there, Dad? Who are others? I'm trying to be kind to that person on the live chat who said an important thing, but God made it that way for a reason. I couldn't see if anyone, I think nobody wrote anything, but I saw a thing show it's hard to, oh, you still living, he said, are you still living alone in a treehouse? Well, not really. There are people here with me. God told me there are people here with me, but I don't always see where they are. And I can sometimes hear real people around here somewhere, and they might hide in places in the house, but there are no squatters or anything like that in these woods. This is one of the best neighborhoods in the place where I live, in this part of Virginia. It's one of the best neighborhoods, but it's not like really rich. But some houses are rich here and stuff. And I have the coolest, like, Edward Scissorhands rich person house of them all, and I'm right next to two people who have small little houses that are like, you can't get away from them, so you have to feel as poor as the least of all of them sometimes. And so it's not like getting to live in a really rich neighborhood where they're all rich and you can just think about making even more money and stuff like that or something. But it's a little different because well, here's the view. It looks pretty good. I have it pretty good on earth. Hi. But God told me there are people living here, and I don't know where they are. And it's a really big home, and I don't know how they would get in, but there must be some kind of native peoples who have hid in the woods among humankind, who evolved to learn how to live hiding, like in the woods and stuff. And here's this. This feels pretty good. I feel like I was empowered in a physical body this morning. I don't know why. Whoa, my butt is a little sore. I got to really do a butt workout. And here's a view. Here's the view. All the ghosts had gone away. All anything scary had gone away. I'd see things here and there, and then it was safe on the mountain, even with all the lights off and only a little moonlight to mute the whole. Hello? Who's he? He's a nice guy my age, a little younger than me, 44, 43, 42, something like that. He's like 44 or something. He lives there. And there's a guy who owns his house. I got to get along with him better. And that guy who owns the house I can get along with really great and do really cool big things, but he's just some other guy. And I have my wife and kids, and I don't usually talk to any of those people in the neighborhood besides Tim and sometimes that next door neighbor, but he has a big dog, and it's kind of kept me not going outside a bunch. But he's at work, so I could walk in the neighborhood, but it's cold. Hi, I almost went off the edge. No, hi, hello. And this must be me being kind of like a false idol, a little scary, like Robin Williams, who may have ended up in hell. But that could be God keeping me safe from going out to Hollywood to try to be number one, like I'm supposed to do something a little different at this time. But I think Robin Williams is in hell. First he went to Hades after he died. And then it wasn't that bad. Hades, he was shoveling coal and things like that, God told me. And then he descended down to hell. And I hope he gets out of there and makes it to heaven. Praise Jesus. And God told me about that. Okay. Here's my stuff. Yogurt. I don't want to show the brands. No, don't worry about it. I showed the brand. Hey, here's a cool piece of wood that I'm working on the house. And the piece of wood, the special piece of wood from the original Solonovich home that this is, the artist's home, where they have cool things like that stained glass window and that huge door that they made by hand and these giant trees. And, they did that tile. It's really a miracle. And the cement floor that can withstand a bombing of planes because they survived Nazi Germany. They survived Nazi Germany and were foreigners there, really white people. And they were foreigners and looked down on by the Nazis. So I have something in common with them, that I understand what it's like to be persecuted like Jesus was. And so I made it safely to this neighborhood. And here's a weird piece of wood. And Rowan, the Nazis are bad. I hate to be the one to tell you, but the Nazis are bad. There's almost nothing redeemable about them. Hitler's bad, and he's in hell, okay? Don't try to pretend that there might be something redeemable about him. He killed 6 million people. There's almost, there's no way he'll make it to heaven, okay? He's bad. He's bad. That's what we have to realize. You can't be tricked by the people who want to make you think that maybe he's okay. No, that's wrong. Hitler is bad. He killed 6 million innocent people because they were Jewish. That's bad. Okay. Now that we all understand, it's not even funny. He killed 6 million innocent people because they were Jewish. That's like killing non-believers. And Jesus was kind to all the non-believers. Okay, here's a piece of wood. And this piece of wood, it got cold in here. I'm planning to cut it and put, I took a piece of, a facade piece of wood off of that. I have to find my hammer. It's around here somewhere to get this one last nail off. And then I put this piece of wood here at an angle kind of going in to here. And then the mice can get away from the cats if they had to hide, and they don't really live in the walls in there. And then this piece of wood will go to here. This piece of wood will go to here, up to about there, or a little higher or something. And then it'll come down, like, see how this is like at an angle? I took this little piece off so it could be at an angle, and then gradually goes a little higher to there. And then I got these special screws for it, and it goes all the way down. And then I'm going to cut a piece off it, or I might find another piece, and I'll put it, this giant piece will go here to about there or something. And then whatever I cut, I find another piece, and it'll go there. And then I have those little pieces. Of wood. And they'll go here. And then it'll cover it up that. And all I have to do is paint it a little bit with some art or something like that, or white and some art. It'll be easier and better, because God's way is easy. God's yoke is easy. God's way is easy. And the only thing that makes things different, I don't know, God and the sin. Because the only thing that makes things difficult is the devil. And so if things are difficult, it's because the devil did it. And that's why work is difficult, because God cursed the soil because of our sin. And sometimes it's not easy to work. So that's some of the other work. That's some of the other work I've been doing. I've been doing all kinds of different work. Well, it's not just for making money. I do different work than my dad does. And I have a wife and kids, and trying to get them back home with me. And that's, I don't know if it's selfish or not, but that's been most of my work for the past, I don't know. Well, I work for God, and I did those weights for legs this morning. I don't know what I'm going to do now. It kind of feels like calm and passive and at peace, but that may be an illusion of a temporary feeling, that you're not supposed to trust in a feeling and you're supposed to trust in God. If it's a feeling to the body, that could be wrong. That could be lust, and that's wrong. And fornication is wrong. And don't trust in your own body. Don't trust in your own self. Trust in God's way. And then you know what to do, what you're supposed to. So I could act like I'm trying to work out a bunch now, even though I felt tired, and try to wake up and stuff so I look better and feel better. And then God could strike all that down, and I might look really bad and crap, and then my channel is still good. And I don't know what's gonna happen. I would never sacrifice your own body with your health. Never sacrifice your own body with your health for the sake of making money. That's wrong, because your body's a temple for God. But you might have to sacrifice your health for the good of God and what He wants you to do for others. What He wants you to do for others. But I don't know. Those are things you might have to do, but I don't know. I'm guilty of lust. I'm guilty of sin. I'm guilty of lust. I'm guilty of sin. But if God did final judgment to me right now and killed me, it would be God. It wouldn't be from a man, because for some reason God made me I don't even want to talk about it. How healthy I am. I weigh 250 pounds or something, and I'm super athletic. And I used to not be that way. I used to be more vulnerable, but I've been able to endure all kinds of attacks, mental attacks and stuff. And so I think it made up for any sin that I had done. Because the worst sin I did was mentally thinking bad things about others, and all that comes back to you. And it might feel like it stabbed you, or something that makes you fat looking, or something like that, or it might kill you, or it might hurt your body. But that would be from something else. I don't know. And don't worry about the sin that hurts the body. But if you start getting really unhealthy and messed up or something, you're supposed to still forgive others and be kind to them. Think of it as this. Jesus said, don't worry if they hurt your body. Forgive them and be kind to them. That's the way of Jesus, how we'll be judged, how Jesus like we are. Be kind to them. And then if they try to corrupt your soul, then worry, because they got to me in there. And on Christmas, I was put to work. I was starting to renovate this with no family there for me. And I should have gone to God instead and realized, I wasn't allowed to be around any family. And I was kind of made to be put to work. But it's really godly work I did on those cabinets. But I blasphemed my loved ones who had a bunch of money. I yelled at them, said I hated them. I didn't care if they died, really mean things like that. But God had me do that. And so now I'm guilty of them. They got to my soul. They got to my soul. Not them, but the devils in hell, and the devils in hell, and demons, devils, bad spirits in the heavens. Those are the ones who get anyone to be mean, and the sin that's already in our bodies from the time that Adam and Eve ate from the tree of the Garden of Eden. Those are the only places where the bad comes from. And we have God who's way more good and godly than anyone. We have God who's way more godly and good than anyone. And He's there to do all things for us, including He lets the devil do bad things to us. But when we trust in God, it'll always be okay. God is way more powerful and good than any human being on earth. And He'll help us when we trust in God with all we do. You may find that you have more money when you live for God only, and you don't sin. And for some reason, God gave me this healthy body now, but I have other things, like when I endured the attacks of others, saying that, they tried to say that I had no money or things like that. They thought it was from privilege, and they put me to a really test. And I was like a diamond, put under a bunch of stressed, and they wanted to see where my money was from. It was from God. And when they got my money that I owned and stuff I owned, they got it down to $0. I realized then God said, or God told me, I had, somehow he made it, like even with a little sin that my dad says, there's some sin in things that's not all godly. You can't make it to heaven. There's some sin in things. I had $1 million. I was a millionaire after God said a few days. So I don't know, but God gave me enough money to be like able to have food, and I don't. I have enough food and water, and I may have very little cash. Like right now, I think I have $0 or $40, $20 or something, and but for some reason, if I think about the money that I have in this house and my wife's house, well, that may be nothing what she has to offer now from the less that she has done. And that's a way that people can lose their net worth. They might have like $300 million. Those are people I don't even know. Haven't met them, but if they lust after some creepy, weird person after there, or if they fornicate with someone, somehow it could be like they're almost like, I don't know if this is real or not, but maybe they were married to them, and they can take all their money down to like negative who knows what, and can make them like really poor when they had $300 million. So you have to be godly and good. And then God does all things. So if those things happen to people, they may be the richest ones, but it's like they're like the poorest dwellers on the wall when they go out in society and stuff. And some people don't know that when they have like $300 million, the lowest that God says that they have, even when they start adding up the numbers and stuff, or whatever, they throw it all away. Just throw it all away. It's garbage. And any tattoo that you get is a sin. You're not allowed to tattoo your body. It is a sin. This tattoo on my shoulder is a sin. That's a sin. If I can laser zap it off with those little things that make it go out of the skin and it laser zap it all off, I might try to do that, but I don't know if I want to hurt my shoulder. So some people, if you, I might do it because the tattoo itself is a sin. It's a sin to get to make markings. I don't know on what, but art is good. Art is good, but God said in His own words not to tattoo your own body. So there must be something redeemable about it that I don't understand. There must be something redeemable about tattoo art that I don't really understand. Why? Because of the sin of this earth. It's something that is like, I don't know why, but for some reason tattoo artists exist on this earth and there are tattoos, but God said in His own words, don't mark your own body. And I didn't know when I got a tattoo. So you can't judge them because there's all kinds of weird sin in everything people do. Even if they don't get a tattoo, they may sin worse. And so people are so weird, and we don't know, if it feels like something's stabbing up through my body the whole time. Like I don't even have to worry about it anymore, other than it made it look like I was a little heavier. That was about what it did to me. And maybe it's crazy. Maybe it's crazy, so I don't know. And don't worry about that, because how is someone mentally hurting you with all their heart? It's not going to become real. They could act like they're tearing up my chest or something, and it doesn't hurt me. Like I still, this is how I look right now. Healthy. for some reason it felt like somebody was like being with all the meanness in their heart. They're getting my son to like try to cut up my body because he was an impressionable child, and they took him to his house, and they tried to say like, we put all the old age onto his father and he'll become the young one who's the new father of him or something. And then and that's crazy occult garbage, and that person will die of old age before they ever find out the ways to live way longer, like they're intending to do with their body on earth. You know, they first have to go to God. That's the way to live longer and healthier. And I can't judge them because I may have been way more sinful than them. But one time, that same person I'm talking about was afraid of me, and it was for 3 months, and I did this really mean way, and God made me do it, and so I can't even judge that person. So we're not supposed to be able to judge anyone, because at some time we may have sinned worse, but you can't keep living for them to, you can't keep letting them pull you into, you can't keep letting them pull you into God's love in that way unless God brings you together with one of them. And then you have to stay married to them, and then that's why, like, maybe I'd get to be president of the United States or something like that, or instead of like hiding out in the woods in some little shack somewhere, like how Bob did or whatever. I don't know, but and God does all those things for a reason. We don't know why. So I may have like $20. I don't know what that is, but I may be a millionaire, or I may be homeless tomorrow, and I may have my health or not have my health. I don't know, but God put me to work for some reason. But that work was like bad. But the work I did there, the lasting work, the work that I did is godly and good, and God made it that way. But the things I said with my mouth here and there, because of some of it, was like bad. But God had me blaspheme and be mean to some of the wealthiest ones in my family, and I said I hated them. I didn't care what happened to them, all these mean things, and I had to keep working. I was like put to work on Christmas, and that was how I was around family at Christmas. I had to do that, and for some reason, God had me say the meanest things to them, and but they can go ahead and, they were trying to kill me with all the heart or whatever here and there sometimes. It doesn't affect me in real life. That's how godly and good they are. Like the people in our families don't actually hurt anybody in real life, unless like, well, some of them had to go to a real war, some of them had to go to a real war. And that's normal. Like, the old guys who went to a war, like an actual war, not crazy evil things or something that don't make any sense. And like they might try to wave their hand and do a cult or some crap like that because they don't have a real job and they don't know what else to do. And they like think that they're going to conjure someone to die and trade places with them and do all these weird ass things or something for, like they think that then they'll have a bunch of gold or something, and they're crazy and they don't work. And so they don't know what they're doing. They live in a fantasy world of thinking that and they might try to do weird ass things to somebody. Like their weird ass little spells and things that they think conjure things into a reality, but then it doesn't do anything at all. Unless maybe the occult, but then that'll come back to them, like it'll make them feel like they're going to die if they thought it was a cult or something. And that's the worst of it, is that it would be, God would make that nonsense occult crap, like Old Testament stuff, like they didn't do anything wrong anyway. And all that I did wrong was Old Testament, like punishment of others in a way. And so I'm not supposed to talk about it, but I always followed the law in the United States, even as maybe if I had become evil, I still followed the law. And once I met my wife, and so the worst they punished me with was they put me in these like mental rehab places. They had me taken away, and broke me broke me. So I don't know if it's my body or what. And then they continued to persecute me when I didn't deserve it, like Jesus. And so I'm guaranteed a place in heaven now. For some reason, I feel like healthy and stuff now, but it all came back to me, and then they persecuted me after it. And then this is talking about me, but I don't know how they are. You know, they haven't had to be persecuted at all, besides my mom and dad. My mom and dad, oh, I don't know. Maybe the other people in my family have had to be persecuted. I don't know, because I don't know how Danica's side of the family is. Because I'm not around them. I don't know if they really get persecuted, but I'm pretty sure they never had to be persecuted. And that's a sad thing, because my mom and dad and I had to be persecuted. Like sometimes my dad would go to the doctor's office and it felt like they're all coming to get him or something, and he was so afraid. And and so he was persecuted, I was persecuted, I think my mom was persecuted. So that guarantees your place in heaven. My dad has like an older body, but I helped him work out with weights and get stronger. But I had to stop helping him with his physical body because it was wrong. So you can't really be kind to others as you would do to yourself if it's sinful. And the ways I used to help others, where I tried to get them to have a bunch of money, I'd try to help them be famous, and I'd try to help them with their physical body or to look good, to be in good shape. And those are the ways I was kind to others when I was younger. And being kind to them and godly and good, being kind to others in good ways that I did the whole time that I was unaware, that I wasn't aware, that I was aware, that I was aware of. And some people pulled a thing on me where they tried to take away who I was, and they tried to make me like not me. But if I had been the most selfish one in Hollywood, like Jack Nicholson, the coolest one of all Hollywood, or something like like if I had been the coolest one of all Hollywood, like I was like the number one coolest, biggest one in Hollywood, who's not even that big, because sometimes even he gets a little afraid, like who is Hollywood, but I think he's the number one. I don't know, Jack Nicholson, and so I don't know, and and so instead of me being the coolest one in the Hollywood Hills, like I owned the whole Hollywood mountain or something like that, like I was like Jack Nicholson at the top, like in some giant fat, and then I don't know, but for some reason God took away my selfish things that I really actually like the best, and he made me act like some person that was like I don't know how the other people would. And so instead of being the most selfish one, like the devil's the most selfish one, which would have been really bad if I had really been number one at the self. That's not how any of it was. And that's not how any of it. But sometimes when I was younger, I was a little selfish, and that's the worst of it. But there's some bigger evil that I did, like almost like an evil that became Old Testament punishment, that almost had the whole United States kind of like, I don't know. God cursed all the soil anyway. God cursed all the soil. I don't know what I did out there, but God made me like brainwash everybody onto the stuff that was like, I don't know what. And then they acted like there's something wrong with my brain, and I had to go to those hospitals, and I didn't know that. They acted like I didn't know what I was doing. But that was the worst sin of it all. That was the great stuff. And it was almost greater magic. And that's bad. That's of the devil. And the devil will try to replace you with all kinds of evil that you never would have liked. If you ever go to the devil, there'd be nothing good that you like anymore, or nothing fun. But instead, there's none of it here. And so God has a better plan. And it might hurt my body, and it's not going to hurt my soul, because even then I hid my soul so far inside. I knew I was me, but I put up a front as if, you know, they couldn't know who I really was. There's the kinds of people that like the stuff I had to stand up for out there. Like they think that's the kind of stuff they like to them, and I'm not like that, you know. And I'd rather have like purple hair. I'd rather have like long, like my dad like made it like there's almost like some disgusting thing in it, like right then when I acted like that. So there's nowhere really to go to act like as cool and different and weird as I'd like. I can't go to California to get to do it. You know, have like really long purple hair that's like light enough. It doesn't look too dark, like really long bangs like down to here or something. And like, you know, like a huge like cool purple hair up to here and be like, hey. And, and like, but then it'd be wrong if you tried to look like really cool in shape. Then it'll look like a false god or something. And that's how stupid the devil is. That's how stupid the devil is. He had eternal life. Not the hair. The hair is cool. But my dad tried to act like there's some gross thing in it that made it like it was thinning hair or something. Or I don't know, America, for some reason you have to. But if I tried to act like I was in really good athletic like shape or something like a statue, see, that's what the devil did. That's why the devil is stupid, because he was in heaven and he was athletic and, you know, looked young and he had the best looks of the angels, but God was better looking. And he thought he'd do something really cool, and he tried to act like a statue. And, and he tried to act like a statue with his eyes to God, like he was like so God. And think of how stupid that is. He was able to run and had a healthy young body that looked that way anyway. He, you know, the devil, when he was in heaven, when he was godly, and then he tried to look like a statue who's unable to move. And he tried to do some cool thing with his eyes like he was a statue. And then and it was a stupid thing. The sin is not only horrible and horrific and hellish and bad. It's not only horrible and horrific and hellish and bad, but it's stupid too, because it's the wrong thing instead of what's righteous and good. And you know, there's like the way to be, that's God and Jesus, this way, and there's the sinful way, you know, and the sinful way, you know, messes the, you know, the devil's gonna mess us up anyway, no matter how old, young, wherever we are. There's God who may give us eternal life, starting now in this sinful body. If we can make it to judgment day, then we'll live forever. And that's what I asked God for, was eternal life as well. I asked him to help me be a vampire so I could outlive my worst fears. And then those fears went away. And as a vampire, I'm a writer, and I can rewrite whoever they thought vampires were. And that can be in the past, and the new vampires can be people who don't even have, well, they might have fangs, but that's a funny thing. That was never anything bad. And in reality, being a vampire was to me was a parable for living like 20 years or however long it takes to make it to be with Jesus. With Jesus. And we have Jesus on earth. We have Jesus on earth. And with Jesus, we can make it through the end times and, you know, the tribulation. We can make it through any bad times, difficult times. We have Jesus, so everything's okay, even if it's not the end times. And one day we'll make it through the end times with Jesus. With Jesus, you may make it to end times with Jesus, even with our older bodies, or however long, whenever judgment is. We'll make it to judgment day with Jesus and not have to die. And then he'll renew our bodies and we'll live forever with really young bodies then. And we'll never have to die. So that's for some people. And I can't judge who that's for. But some of us won't have to die, I think, who are on earth today. Because that's how God said I'm supposed to be. But only God knows that, and knows who else knows. So there may be more than me who know that they'll make it until judgment day and then live forever. So that's what I asked for God to be like a parable, like a vampire. I don't know, I don't think the teeth have anything to do with anything. That was never anything bad. Teeth, that's somebody else's stupid sin. I don't know whose sin was a vampire. I don't know whose sin was the vampire teeth. That was never the worst sin I had done on earth. the worst thing I had done on earth was to sell out to the shit that I never liked and never sold my soul. I kept my soul inside shit that I didn't like out there working at their shit that personally was not my kind of thing. And I would have rather been in California on a stage doing stand-up comedy or something cool that I like. But this work is good. This kind of work is good, like using a drill. That's good or not. That's bad. Okay, everything has sin in it. Everything has sin in it. There's good in it and there's sin in it. My body has good and sin, but my soul has good. Our souls are only good. No matter how it looks, I don't know what my soul looks like. It's like inside of our body or part of our body, but our body has some sin in it because it's on this earth. And the only way to be away from the sin, to live forever, is to be godly and good for Jesus, and then it'll be judgment day one day, and we know that because God told us that. You can't really know what's going to happen in the future unless you're a prophet, and I'm not a prophet, but sometimes if you're really godly and good, you can be a prophet, but you can't proclaim that you're a prophet because it could be like the false prophet who would be a false idol and like the devil, and I've studied about God and Jesus, and that's helped me. But God can do more for people who didn't study in some instances. Maybe children who are not liable for their own sin and they don't understand the sin. And some of them are really without sin more than we know, but I don't know. And I don't really know other than my kids are children. And I kind of like to be a child without sin, but for some reason God made me a child of God. And we can be a child of God no matter how old we get, unless you're supposed to be a man or a woman. Then don't be a natural man, because the natural man is also the beast, and that's bad to be a natural man. I think that's what I was afraid of. Well, I became a natural man at one time, doing the stuff I didn't like to out there. It wasn't very good. And I'm a child of God. And I don't know what that is. Weasel. And I don't know what that is. And then and I don't know. And then God may do something to me, and I don't know what. And God knows. God knows what will happen, but I don't. And I know about God because I've studied God for 6 years. And I've studied about God for 6 years, but actually I'm 48. So I've had God the whole time. I was raised on God. All children are raised on God and by their mother and father, who raised them in the ways of the Lord. Their mother and father raised them in the ways of the Lord. And God raises all children too. I learned that hey, it wasn't too horrible that my kids were away from me in Texas, because God was raising them. I tried to go there, and it was like, this was like them, and here was me in Virginia. And it was so hard to find a window of time to get to there. And, they made it about sex or something, like there's something wrong with them or something. But I made it there sometimes, and Danica, was the one who was like, I don't know, but I got there to show them the ways of God and Jesus, because, don't make me angry, because I'll tell you what I think of how they raised them there. And, so if someone takes the father's children away from them, they have to wonder what's going on when they're 1,000 miles away. So I don't know why God had them there, but because of the sin of the earth, that was done. And they were taken away. A husband and wife me and my wife were taken away from one another because of the devil. The devil did it. I know the devil did. The devil took my wife away from me. And because of the sin of the earth, some people have to get a divorce. And it's not for everyone, but some people did it anyway, even though they didn't have to. And this is all stuff from the Bible. So if the words are written across I don't know. And I don't know. But sometimes a cross is good. But not when it's worshipped. You always worship God or Jesus. you always worship God, or you might not if God made you a non-believer or something, or the devil tricked you. But don't worship a cross. But a cross is good. It's a symbol of Jesus, and you're obviously not supposed to worship his symbol. You know, Jesus is sometimes everywhere when he's God, because sometimes he's God, maybe, or sees all things. And maybe he's everywhere. Sometimes I know he is, because I said those things, and God had me say those things even though I didn't know. And that's how you can start being prophetic, when you learn about God and Jesus by reading the Bible. Don't give your body too much to God to be a vessel for him without the knowledge of who he is. Then you know if you're doing something right or wrong. The devil may get in there and trick you, and you might end up like doing who knows what horrors, you know. But if you have to, do it. But you don't want to end up hurting anybody, or getting in trouble or something like that. And if you're supposed to be a vessel for God, learn about who he is, that you're supposed to be like Jesus. Always remember this. You're supposed to be like Jesus and not hurt anyone. You're supposed to be like Jesus and kind to others and never hurt anyone. Jesus never hurt anyone on earth, and he's never hurt anyone that I'm aware of, unless he was like God, who in some rare instances could strike people down, but usually the devil caused everyone's death. And the only thing that Jesus did on earth was he struck down a fig tree that happened to be different from the other fig trees that God created. And God created fig trees. It's one of his original creations. You can't always be against fig trees. And you know, it's wrong to think that you'd always be that way. You'll have to change. And there's some good and bad in everything, and you can't like try to incinerate every fly on earth like I tried to do one time, because I didn't like flies. And then I realized, you know, those are God's creations that we can't get rid of, I think, unless we're supposed to. We may have to make some animals extinct if they're too sinful. I don't know. They may be kind of bad, because God flooded the whole earth and got rid of all the creepy, weird creatures, because people tried to live longer somehow, and they tried to mix with animals or do things that like they thought would make them live longer, but it made them live not as long, because we have dominion on the animals. How could that make them live longer? And they had a striving to live. They had they hoped for life. We're supposed to want to live and want to have eternal life, but the devil causes us to hate ourselves. And as human beings, we're supposed to hate ourselves sometimes, and we're supposed to hate some of the most closest people to us, or we can't be Jesus' disciple. But you know, and not much has ever gone wrong with my physical body, so I shouldn't complain. But if you're at unrest and work 18 hours a day or something like that, or 12 hours a day like me, since I was a 12-year-old, since about 12, actually since I was 20, about 14 hours a day, or 12 hours a day since I was 20, and before that, long hours a day since I was 12, for God and Jesus, and sometimes, you know, feeling like the least of others. And God, it was for God, so God didn't give me any physical problems with my body. For some reason, I had to live through it, but you know, I'm not like others. You know, they have things that, you know, I had hoped to die to be at peace from it 40,000 times, and somehow God did a miracle and made it like I had never done anything occult or bad. That was the worst of it, when I didn't know what I was doing, other than I had to do something. It's like a necessary evil for Americans to be okay, and like a war or kind of thing. And it wasn't that bad. It was like had to like brainwash like 200 million people, and I was brainwashed on it too, and had to brainwash them. But I hid my real soul inside, and I kept my soul, and it wasn't for me. So that's the miracle, is that I didn't give my soul to the devil to do the cool stuff I actually like in Hollywood and stuff. And I kept my soul, and then my body sold out. You know, I ate their foods, whatever they believed in for their foods. It was the only way that I had to be like them, so all Americans would be okay. And then I had to suffer like Jesus, the least of them out there, out into the whole country willing to be put in hell for hundreds of years, really bad horrors, and that would be what Jesus would have had to face, and that was what Jesus. I think that was what Jesus. I think that was what Jesus. That was what Jesus had to face back then. He didn't know what horrors could happen to him because he was aware that hell was real, and he faced all of those things back in his days, and it was really scary. But God, or he, somehow only had to go through the worst of it on earth, which was them beating him. First they persecuted him. He went into hiding, and then they heard it. Then he kept preaching the gospel. I don't know how much of his life he was persecuted, but he was persecuted. He was strengthened by God and empowered like God on earth too. Jesus was empowered like God on earth, and he suffered on the cross and was persecuted. You can't deny that he suffered on the cross, and you can't deny that he was killed and descended to hell in a godly way. There was nothing bad for personally for him or God down there, and he did what he was supposed to help Adam and Eve go to heaven, and to tell all those awaiting in Hades about his gospel of Jesus, and many of them went to hell, and they were sent to hell forever when they didn't accept his gospel. And then he was risen on the third day, and he was on earth in some way, and somehow he made it to heaven after he had done his work. And the last words he said on the cross were not for himself. He was not selfish. He was willing to suffer the least of maybe every human who's ever lived. He suffered and died for our sins, and he was risen, and he made it to heaven. But his work on earth was for his Father God, for the glory of God. It wasn't for himself as Jesus, because his last words on earth were, "It is finished," because he was a prophet. He was God when he said those things and could see the future to where all the sin, the sin of the earth would be destroyed in the lake of fire. It would be destroyed in the lake of fire. It would be destroyed in the lake of fire by God. And sometimes by being godly, it may be an extraordinarily rare instance that I've learned only in the past couple weeks, that you may have to be like God in those instances and do negative or bad things towards others who are so sinful that the sin has to be destroyed, or not negative, but it's not really my thing that I'd ever really liked. I like being like Jesus and not hurting anyone, and kindness to others, and no weapons on earth, and eating like they ate in the Garden of Eden when there are plants to eat, and there'll be no meat in heaven. There's no meat in heaven, okay? This earth is too sinful, and so God told us we have dominion on those animals because they're creepy and bad and mean, some of them, and they have to be killed. They're way more sinful and creepier and weirder than human beings, generally speaking, so we have dominion on the animals, because the kind of incest and horrors and stuff that they would do is way worse. That's why they don't live very long and stuff, and so we can eat their body. We can do whatever we're supposed to animals, but if you kill them in an inhumane way, or if you're really mean to them or something, then you'll be judged for that. And you're not supposed to be mean to them, but we have dominion on them, and there's more to learn about animals. And dogs may make it to heaven, but we're warned about dogs in the Bible, but they might make it. They may all make it to heaven. I think all of us. Well, I know all of us human beings will make it to heaven, and maybe all the creatures too. And I think we're all going to make it to heaven, because in the Bible, God says we will all be changed. We will all be changed. Even the atheists who think they're an atheist, they have God too. Sometimes they know, and they'll have Jesus too one day, and they'll be changed to see how to really be. And sometimes they live for God and Jesus the whole time. They've lived for God and Jesus sometimes. Some of them are wicked and will have to go to hell forever. And they eventually, after like 1,000,000 years or 1,000 years, some of them will realize, they'll miss love. All the love there is, and anything good is from God. And they'll miss God's love, and He loves all of us so much that He'll let them into heaven too when they're incinerated in hell, and then they too they'll die the second death in hell, and they'll make it to heaven, and they're not incinerated, but their bodies will be burned to ash, fine ash, and then but that's hell. And some of them will make it there by judgment day. The one I was talking about there, I was thinking about probably make it there by judgment day. And there may be people who end up in hell, or hell may be a very real feeling place that may be inside of the whole earth. Because think about it, it's probably something that we go through when we sleep after we die. And it feels like they're in the Hades realm or something, and we go through wherever we have to, and then by judgment day, you'll make it into heaven. I think, I know. And so, but some, like the devil, I think the devil's place is all alone inside the earth, chained up, starting on judgment day. The devil will be way down there, but devil man may be different. There's some guy on earth that calls himself devil man. He's a human being, and they talk differently than you may think. We're supposed to be kind to him because Jesus was kind to everybody besides the devil. And the devil was bad, the actual devil. And he's bad, and he's going to have to suffer forever, but he'll be chained in hell in the center of the earth while everyone has heaven on earth for 1,000 years, and then he'll try to rise to kill everyone. He thought he'd make bad things that are stupid and bad. He thought he'd make that way, and he thought he'd take over for God, but God struck him down, and then it caused all our suffering on earth for thousands of years, everything bad that's ever happened to us. And he was trying to live on that way, and he caused us to suffer, and he tries to bring people down and experiment with them genetically to keep them alive after they die, to get the max out their soul for his property and stuff. And then when they really miss God and Jesus and they feel really bad, then he has to kill them or something, or the fire engulfs them, and they die. And that God created the hell of itself, the devil kills them, and then they make it up to heaven because he's a bad one who kills everyone. I didn't realize that, but the devil's the one who kills them too. And but sometimes God has to strike someone down and kill them. And so when Satan tries to rise after there's been 1,000 years of heaven on earth, there'll be 1,000 years of heaven starting on judgment day on the exterior of the earth, and the devil will be chained up in hell. And then he'll get out somehow, and he'll try to rise an army. This is stuff you have to actually know the truth about. If you get it wrong, then you might be some crazy person. You don't know what you're doing, and like the body might be controlled by God or something. And who knows what kind of horrors some people do if they don't know how to really be with God and Jesus. But some of them might end up crazier than them. So don't ever hurt anybody. Go to Jesus. Don't ever hurt anybody so you can't get in trouble. Follow the law in the United States. And then the devil's going to come out. Some of them abuse the law in the United States, and they make tricks and lies so they don't get into trouble in an earthly way, like the people who persecuted Jesus or hurt Jesus. But some of them made it to heaven. And then the devil will try to come out to everybody in heaven and earth. They'll be afraid, and he'll raise an army that tries to take over God. He tries to win against Jesus, and God will strike him down with lightning. And this is all in the Bible. It's a real prophecy. And God will strike him down and kill them all, those in the army. But I don't know what happens to those in the army. They might live, or I don't know what they'll have to go through. And then heaven will be brought to heaven on earth, that was brought down to earth for 1,000 years, will be brought back up to heaven. And I don't know what's going to happen to the earth. And God is mysterious and strange, and there may be infinite galaxies out there that will, as human beings, never be able to reach. Because when we started to breed with Nephilim, to live 20,000 years old, there's too much sin, and we would have been like hell on earth. So God had to flood the whole earth and put us on Noah's Ark and everything, and on the earth got flooded, and we made it, or the human beings, and Noah was so godly and good. He became God, and you have to be careful about that because you don't want to be a false god. And only in rare instances does that mean godly, or for some people, who knows what. But I'm afraid to be a false god. And he was like God, but the lust that some people do, that was my own problem after my own wife or whatever. And try to. I don't do it, but the devil may have gotten into my body, and the body might. Who knows? It's going to happen to it. But I'm supposed to live until judgment day. Who knows what will happen to our bodies? But some people might die from the sin. Who cares? Who cares? It's not that difficult of a thing for the body. It's for the body to die, and you'll get to be forever in heaven one day. So why does it matter how long you get to live? I prayed and hoped to die. I was ready to die, and at any day I was ready to die, and then God took that away and made it so I had to keep living, and it was so difficult to keep living. Like, I'm supposed to have a good life one day, but I have one right now. Like in this video, it's really good. So for some reason, God wants me to live, but if God changes, God won't change that, just for you. You can't try to take what somebody else has because you're seeing this and you think that I have it all. You don't know what I've been through when I hoped to die 40,000 times, and I was trapped in this body and couldn't die, and couldn't even put a little scratch on my skin. If I got really angry and did that, it would make a little red scratch, and it would if I tried to act like I was cutting I couldn't hurt my own body. And so I don't know. And so my dad wants to try to send me off to Hollywood of hell, and see what will happen and see what will happen before I get to have my good life on earth at peace from how difficult it's been to have to keep living or whatever, because he doesn't like how he's getting old, and he's not going to get any younger, or might get a little younger. I don't know. And we can get younger, but not younger in years, but like our bodies may look young, might or not. They keep, old age was created by the devil. Our bodies have to get older, but some human beings may not ever get old because they're children, and they might get old a little, but they don't look that old. And then judgment day may happen before I don't know when judgment day is going to happen, but it can happen at any day. And the only thing that judgment days could happen at any day, and we have to be ready for God at any moment, because he may take us to heaven at any moment. Like right now, I'm ready to be taken to heaven. For some reason, he wants me to live. And it's nothing to get sad about, but and I don't want my kids to see that after how depressed a little bit they started to give up and stuff. And you can't do that to my children, because for some reason, why would they want to put that on my children? And I'd rather have them live and give my life for them to be okay in heaven one day, or them to make it in heaven, rather than their physical bodies. God does everything for a reason. For some reason, I'm not supposed to just get on a plane right now, or I would get on a plane and or I'd get on a plane and go see them. And this is a body that has not tried to do anything. It doesn't have a mind of its own. You have your own mind, soul, and you control your body. There's no other mind or brain in lust. That's the devil who tricked you into those things. I look the way I do for some, I don't know why. I might look fat to people. People who are younger than me. I'm in my 40s. So I don't know. Maybe I look fat and old. I don't know. But I look pretty good because I worked on my looks a little bit. I worked on my looks a little bit because I'm in front of camera, but there are people who look cool anyway and good. And like my sister, Krista. And, it's just disgusting. But I've had a problem where, I went crazy, couldn't take it anymore. I think it has something to do with somebody in Danica's family, where they're attracted to really young people of the opposite sex. Someone, I don't know who did, but I got a bunch of that when I was younger, and was trying to, like, there's maybe some American things where they're attracted to younger people, but I'm attracted to my wife, so I try to pretend that my wife was the really youngest one, and then it made her look that way because I don't know. but her body's here. I put it down here on the couch, and she's good. What is she doing? And we're both older. We're not that old, but I'm 48 and I'm 49, and I have to make a poo, and I have to make a poo, and it's like there's a poo in my butt, and it's filled up with my body. I have to poo, and so I'm gonna go. Okay, praise God, praise Jesus. I know. Okay, I gotta use the bathroom. Well, I did get really angry and sinful there, and that'll make someone feel really bad. But for some reason, I'm putting a carpet in there. I've done all this work in here myself, besides the people who built it, and some people years ago used to help me here on there in the house. But I'm gonna go. Praise God, praise Jesus. Bye.